Good afternoon. Okay, so yeah, John here, and I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about this V80 bait boat from Future Carping. Jerry's just with me as well down there. He's been having a snooze on the bag. He's just woken up. So yeah, so tell you a little bit about this boat from Future Carping. Let's say this is the V80. I've been with Future Carping now for about a year. I met Steve last year, and you know what, a little bit of sort of the backstory, if only a very small amount, was the fact that he was talking to me about these bait boats and he was showing me, and he showed me the range, and I said to him, I said, yeah, that's great, Steve, but I'm not a huge fan of them, never really have been. I've owned them before, I've owned different bait boats before, never been a massive fan. I would rather cast where I can, and you know, and be a bit more of a purist in that respect. However, big however, I can massively see the benefits of them, and I have used this several times now over the last year, and I can 100% say that it's helped me put more fish on the bank. That is a guarantee, that's a given. Now, the reason I can say that is because, and I'll go through some of the features that I like about it in a minute, but I have used this bait boat now, as I say, for the past year, and I've fished a few places in the UK with it. My syndicate water here is very much a bait boat dominated water. Most people on it are using them. Most captures that people are getting are coming from using the bait boat. I've also used it at another place which is extremely weedy, and I'll mention about some of the ways that I've used it there before. Jerry's wanting to get back onto the bag, just put him in there. There you go, mate. Somewhere that's excuse me, really weedy. It's allowed me to get to the spots and, you know, find the spots, and allow me to put bait in there in a certain way and actually do other stuff as well. But I'll come on to that in a minute, because it's to do with one of the features on it that I'll mention that. I've also used it earlier on this year. In May of this year, we went on a trip to a big long trip, actually, all the way to Lake Zumbar in Croatia, and it helped me put a lot of fish on the bank there. I went there, I had carp up to 67.5 pound, commons to 67.5. I had mirrors to, I think, upper 50s. I had, as I had that 67.5. I had 5 or 6 50s in amongst it all as well. Lots of backup 40s, and had I not had this, I'm not saying I wouldn't have caught any of those fish, but I'd have probably caught a lot less, because the place where I was fishing and the place where I was actually catching, we had a bay down to our right hand side, myself and Craig that I was fishing with. We tossed a coin. We had this bay, we had the open water spot, we tossed a coin. We both wanted the left hand, which was open water area, because the open water areas there tend to fish better. However, the lake fished quite poorly that week anyway, to be honest, all round, and the open water spots weren't really producing that many fish. However, I managed to find a spot down in the bay, down at the bottom of the bay. Okay, mate? Yeah, down in the bottom of the bay, where this is normal, it does this a bit. So yeah, it was down in the bottom of the bay where I was fishing. It was 16 feet deep to start off with, at about 250 meters range. Then it came up to a small area of 8 or 9 foot depth, up to some reeds, then at sort of 3 or 4 foot at the reeds. Now I was fishing locked up onto the 8 or 9 foot spot. They couldn't get into the reeds. You know, I had no problems there, so I wasn't worried about any sort of problems with any fish care or anything like that. And I was literally just fishing for bleeps. So had I not had this there, I would have had to have got in the rowboat, which we did have. We had the rowboat with the outboard motor on it, so I could have gone along to it, prodded and found my spots and everything like that, and then lowered the rig down, but it would have taken a long time to do so. And obviously having this allowed me to get the bait out there, minimal fuss, get it presented, using the the sonar, because this boat is fully loaded. It's got the GPS and the sonar on it, so I was able to find the spot, take it back with the GPS, use the sonar just to make sure I was bang on the spot, and yeah, it was perfect for what I needed. As I say, 250 metres range was a long way to be fishing. Nowhere could have cast to it. You know, a lot of people say, well, that's cheating, you can't cast to it, but there's no one down there. That's where some fish were showing in our swim, so I had to use what was at my disposal to use. So here it is. This is the V80. Some of the things I really like about it, I love the big hoppers, really big hoppers on them. You can get a lot of bait in there if you need to, certainly in Europe when you're fishing for big fish. I mean, that lake's got 80 pounders in it, and I caught them up to, say 67 and a half. The mouths on these fish are absolutely monstrous. They can eat a lot of food, so we can put a lot of bait in there, and a lot of time I was filling these hoppers, taking it out just for an individual fish. So yeah, size of the hoppers, absolutely superb. The fact you can split the hoppers as well. There's a piece in the bag. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, there we go. So there's pieces of plastic there in the bag, which they can fit down the middle, both the front and the back, like so. Just to I don't know what Jerry thinks is in the bag. So you can separate the hoppers. Now the good thing about that is one of the things I actually did quite a bit was, rather than having to redisturb my rigs and put the rigs back out again and everything, I was able to send some bait out to the spots and drop some bait on each rod without bringing the boat backwards and forwards all the time, because I could separate the hoppers, and because I got the position set and the GPS on the receiver or on the remote control, I was able to then put some separate it, put some in the left, some in the right, some in the back, send it out to spot one, drop the left hand side individually, excuse me, pick up GPS position 2 on the remote, send it off to there, drop the right hand bit individually, and then send it to number 3, and then drop the rear bit. So I was baiting up the different spots. Did that on a number of occasions, and you know, it was so much easier than keep having to bring it backwards and forwards all the time, refill it, send it back out. And doing that also saves battery power. Not that I needed to really worry about the battery power. The batteries on this are absolutely superb. The batteries live in these little bits at the sides here. Let's pop that one back on. In there you'll find one of those. That's your lithium ion battery. It's 15.6 amp, 173.2 watt hours. Standard voltage is 11 volts. Alright, so very good batteries. You get one in that side, one in that side. You've got a little thing in there which you can just attach the charger to. Just the cable from the charger plugs into there, or conversely, if you didn't want to do that, so if you wanted to, you know, if you've got a lodge at the lake or something like that, where you can take the batteries to go and charge, keeping your boat where your bivvy or with you, less chance of somebody walking away with it. You can then take the batteries out. They will individually attach quite simply to this cable, like that, one there like that. That then plugs into the charger, because it's got the same connector as on there, and then you can just leave them and go collect them later. Now, when I mentioned the batteries, I fished that, as I said, for the week. In fact, we were there for 8 days. We were fishing for, sending the boat out multiple times a day, 250 metres away, or up to 250 metres away. And I put because it tells me on the handset what charge is actually in the batteries. When it got down to about 50%, I thought, right, we were going out to the shops anyway, so I took the batteries down, put them on charge, left them down on charge, used the second set that I'd got, which were both fully charged as well. Used those until they got down to about 30%, and that was it. That's all I used for the week. I didn't need to then swap them over again. Even though I charged the first set up back to full, I didn't need to swap them back over, and that was in 8 days using that a lot. So the batteries are absolutely phenomenal, very, very good. The handset, it runs off 4 AA AA batteries. I've got rechargeables in there that I've bought to add in there, because I mean that's always the best thing to do anyway, if you can use rechargeables, because you get more use from them, and you can charge them on the bank as well. I've got a little charger there that goes with it, and that just plugs into a power pack. So a couple of things I've mentioned there: the hoppers, how you can split them, both front and rear, and I've mentioned about the batteries. The next thing that I'm going to mention is this rear hopper. If you can see there's a little slot in the back of it. I mean, it's wide enough almost to get that cable all the way down there. I won't do it because, in fact, there you go. So as you can imagine, that cable is thicker than any leader, rig tubing, you know, whatever you're going to be using on your rigs. So you can quite easily place that in there, like I've done before, where I've put my free bait in the boat, and then I forgot to put my rig in, and then I've got to try and put it on a mat or something like I've got here. I've got the base for my unhooking mat there. Open the hoppers, drop it onto the mat, sort it all out again, put the rig underneath, and try and get it all back in without spilling it and getting rats and things like that coming into your swim and all that sort of stuff, because you don't want to spill any bait. You can just put it in the back, and then the line just goes through the hopper, so you can do that whilst it's already closed. These hoppers are very strong. They're on, I mean, I'm pushing against that there, they're on magnets. You've got 2 magnets either side for each one. Really, really strong. I've had these full, absolutely full of bait, 5-6 ounce lead, lots of bait in there, and they don't just drop open. They're not like that at all. They're superb, really, really strong hoppers. So that's that bit. I do like the way it's quite big. It's quite big and sturdy. It's got wheel guards on the bottom for your propellers, because I've got the batteries clipped in as well. I can actually tip it upside. You never do that obviously in the water, but there's nothing moving inside, which is great. And it's got your twin hole design, and you can see that, which makes it, and with the sides of it as well, it makes it unbelievably sturdy. My syndicate water that I'm on here at the moment, it's raised up. You can maybe see in the fields behind. It's raised up from everything around us, so we do get at the moment, like we've got, it's not even a strong wind, we've got wind coming across, and I've had it before when my bivvy's lifted out of the water, so there's almost waves on the lake, and I've sent the boat out and the boat's just going, yeah, fine, I'll manage that with ease, and it really does. Not just saying that, it's absolutely phenomenal. There's other, obviously, smaller boats and stuff on the market, which, you know, you can see them, they're just bouncing around all over the place in that. This, absolutely no chance. It's great for that. It's great for your big European waters, which are big and open. You get big choppy waves on them, and it handles them without any problems whatsoever. Something else I'll mention is the lights. So the lights, if I turn it around, if I switch that on, that sort of half light's white on the front, all the way on. You can see that on and off. And then on the rear, you've got some blue lights. They're halfway on and then all the way on. Really good idea having the different coloured lights. You know, even at sort of, say, 250 metres range in Croatia, I was able to send this out, and seeing those blue lights at the back of it, I knew which way round it was facing, which is really handy, because then I can turn it round and get it to start coming back to me, or set it to the start point where I'd have set it out in front of my swim, send it back to me while I can sort the rod out. So that's the sort of the main sort of physical things about the boat. The excuse me, other good things about it, this one here, you've got, with the V80, you've got 3 ways you can have this. You can have it, or 3 different options if you like. You can have it with just a standard boat, or you can have it with a built-in sonar, the Godio fish finder, or you can have it as well with the GPS, all different combinations of the 3 there. On the handset, I've got it switched on at the minute. It's got a thing, a direction that tells you what direction it's pointing. It tells you satellite quality. Currently it's linked up to 14 satellites. It was showing 16 like a yo-yo, to be fair, but it's never given me any less than 14, normally between 14 and 16 satellites. Just go talk a bit louder because of the wind. You can probably hear the wind on the microphone. I've got the microphone covered, but you can still hear it. It also tells me the remote control power and the battery, the boat power as well. And you can cycle through all the different sort of start points, fish spot 1, 2, 3, etc., and go through. It's got 30, that's 30 fish spots you can actually set into there, which is quite handy, I suppose, if you've run somewhere like this on this syndicate where there's 11 swims on the lake. So if I wanted to, I could pick 10 swims and have 3 spots that I fish in each swim, for example, and have them all set out in the handset. So I can know my spots, and I can literally rock up, doesn't matter whether it's day, night, whatever, stick the boat in the water, get my stuff in it, send it out to whichever spot I want. Absolutely superb. That's the GPS function. As I say, the fish finder, Godio fish finder, you can run that through either your mobile phone or a tablet. I tend to use it on my tablet with a tripod. It's just that bit easier, bigger screen, but like I said, you can use it just on your mobile phone if you want to. But it shows you the depths, it tells you the temperature of the water, it gives you, all the deviation or the variations in depth as you're going out there. It shows you how hard the bottom is. So funnily enough, actually earlier on today, with the guy in the next swim, he was getting a few liners on his rod, and he was backleading. So where he thought that there was or it was possibly a fairly flat bottom from the rod tips out to where he was fishing, he thought, well, there's either some sort of deviation in the depth, or there's fish swimming past at his rod tips, or where the back lead's taking it down and they've swimming past at that close range. So I said to him, well, we can have a little look if you want, because you're saying I'm going to get the marker float out and have a look, find out the depths and work out whether there's any troughs or anything like that. So I said, I'll get the boat out if you want. And he said, yeah, let's do it. So I put it out, just near his rods, sent it out towards where his rig was, to where he was fishing. And as we went along, it went sort of like from 4 foot down into about 6 foot, along for a bit, and then back up again. So we knew there was some sort of deviation there, but we didn't realise there was such a drop of about 2 feet for a bit of a channel. And funnily enough, since then, he's now dropped a rod into the channel and has actually caught a fish from it. So where he was getting his liners before, where if you can imagine the line coming down, it's going across the top of that channel, a fish was swimming to that and giving him line bites all the time. He's then put a rig in the channel, so he's brought it back from where he was fishing, he's dropped it into the channel, and he caught a fish from it. Now that's pretty cool to sort of be able to fish for your liner and then find out where it is. Effectively, you can work out why or where the fish are going. So it's really good to be able to see that sort of stuff. Some people say it's cheating. Is it? Well, even if it is, why not? End of the day, the purpose. And I had this discussion with somebody last week. And I say I'm not a huge bait boat fan myself, however I can see the major benefits of it. If you can think that ultimately the idea of our fishing is to put fish on the bank and to catch fish, if we can give ourselves a bit of an extra edge to catch those fish, then why not? We're not doing anybody else any harm, as long as we're using good etiquette and we're keeping the boat in our own swim. We're not messing around going into other people's swims, racing around the lake or anything like that, which is really, really important. Good etiquette with a bait boat is amazingly important. Then why not use it? It's there to help you. Just like when you think about it, we use bite alarms. What do we use bite alarms for? Well, we use bite alarms really, yes, to indicate us and tell us when we're getting a run. But during the day, we could just sit and watch the rods, I suppose, couldn't we? Watch the bobbins like we used to do years ago. But with the bite alarms, it allows us to fish somewhere non-stop for several hours, several days, because you can go to sleep. You can go to sleep in your bivvy, and then it'll wake you up and tell you you've got to run. So we've evolved in that respect. So surely there's nothing wrong with evolving and using the technology that's there available for us. That's an argument for another day, but that's just sort of my take on it. And yeah, don't need to labour on that particularly too much. I think that's about it really for the for this. I've said. Oh, one thing I did want to point out is, like I said, I mentioned something about the hoppers before, because these can obviously be activated individually. One thing I have done is I was fishing at a friend's lake where it's very weedy, and you get a lot of diving birds, some coots and some tufties and things like that will dive down on your bait. It's only about probably 5 or 6 foot deep, and then very, very quickly they'll find your bait and they'll come down on it and they'll smash it to pieces, and then you'll catch them, whatever, and then you've got to keep resetting your rods, and it's very, very weedy. We've got an area where we've kept it clear of weed by feeding lots of particle and pellet and stuff, and just getting the bream and the carp to clear that out, so when we come to actually fish it, it's then clear. But one of the things that I've done to really good effect is to send the boat out. I'll have some bait in the big hopper there, and I'll have some bait in the back with my rig. So what I'll do is I'll take it out and I'll go to the point where I want. I'll find that spot, we've got the spot, and I'll drop my rig and my bait. Then I'll maybe go on another foot or two, maybe 2 feet further on, and then I'll drop the main amount of bait, the larger amount of bait, that's where, and it has worked, and I've been using it, that's where the coots and the diving birds will start to sort of smash it to pieces, because there's much more bait there. Now, with them doing that, what it's actually happened is they've then sort of fed themselves off a bit, and it's allowed me to fish for longer with my baited rig, with a small amount of bait. And it's also doing that thing where we're sort of fishing off the baited area a little bit, where, you know, that could be a really, really good tactic, certainly for picking up bigger fish, where you sometimes get smaller fish fishing on the baited area or feeding on the baited area, and then you'll get the bigger fish that comes and just mooches around on the outside. So that's one of the things that we're kind of trying to do in that respect. So there's twofold, or two ways I'm doing that really. One is two reasons. One's to keep the coops and everything feeding up. I've just had a fish just showed over there. I'll probably put a rod on that in a minute. And the other one is so that you can then feed off the baited area. So that's it. That is, like I said, the V80 bait boat from Future Carping. Fantastic bit of kit. Check out the Future Carping social media on, obviously on Facebook. I think they're on Instagram and TikTok. Maybe go across to the website, have a little look, and see what you think. I think these boats themselves are fully loaded. I think that they're under £2,000, which might sound a lot of money, but when you're looking at some of the other boats on the market that are twice that sort of price, similar sort of features, I'm not being funny, but you cannot go wrong with it, and they are absolutely superb. And the aftercare, I'm not just saying that, but the aftercare with them is fantastic. If you have any issues, they're always on hand to help out. So, like I said, that is the V80 bait boat from Future Carping. Get yourselves out there, go and catch some fish, and be lucky. Catch you later.